I never thought a single outfit could turn my world upside down. Yet here I was, standing in the small, sunlit bedroom I had grown up in, staring at the green and gold cheerleader uniform that my sister, Megan, had left in her closet. My heart pounded in a mix of excitement and guilt. She had always hated me borrowing her things, especially anything tied to school spirit, which she believed I could never understand or earn. But today, something inside me whispered that I needed to try. I'm Alex, 21, a college student balancing part-time work at a local coffee shop and full-time chaos at home with my family. Most people know me as the guy who's quiet, slightly awkward, and painfully average at sports. But there's a side of me few have seen, a side I've only dared to explore in secret, a fascination with women's fashion, makeup, and transformation. Not out of necessity, but out of curiosity, thrill, and the strange comfort of slipping into a version of myself that felt freer, bolder. My fascination wasn't new. It started in high school when Megan, my older sister by 2 years, would practice cheer routines in our living room. I'd watch from the couch, mesmerized not just by her athleticism, but by the way her uniform seemed to change her entirely, confident, radiant, untouchable. I had never told her, of course. That would have been a disaster. Megan didn't tolerate what she called silly experiments or pretend games. She was perfection, rules, and control, qualities I admired but also secretly feared. The moment I spotted her uniform hanging neatly in her wardrobe today, something in me shifted. Maybe it was boredom, maybe rebellion, or maybe sheer curiosity. Emma, my girlfriend of 6 months, would never understand this side of me. She liked the normal Alex, the coffee shop worker, the gamer, the guy who could sometimes make her laugh. The thought of her seeing me in a cheerleader outfit made my chest tighten, equal parts thrill and dread. I carefully pulled the uniform from the hanger, the fabric soft and smooth beneath my fingers. The skirt was short, pleated, and impossibly light. The top hugged the shoulders, embroidered with the school's emblem in glittering gold thread. I held it up against myself in the mirror, almost laughing at the absurdity. Could I really pull this off? Could I even step into this world Megan dominated without her noticing, without Emma discovering, without turning my life upside down? I had always been careful. My experiments had been private, midnight sessions with wigs and makeup in my room, practicing in secret when the apartment was empty. I knew every trick to make myself passably convincing: posture, movement, voice. Yet this was different. This wasn't just a quiet evening with a wig and mascara. This was Megan's world, her identity, and now, somehow, my dare. Emma was out for the afternoon, visiting her parents, which meant I had a few hours of uninterrupted freedom. I paced the room, imagining her reaction if she walked in now. Her face would likely flicker with confusion, maybe even judgment, but I couldn't stop thinking about the way she smiled at me when I felt confident, when I dared to step out of the ordinary. This was my chance to feel that confidence without her watching, to explore a fantasy that had been simmering in the back of my mind for months. The apartment was silent except for the hum of the ceiling fan and the faint traffic outside. I could almost hear Megan's voice in my head, scolding me for touching her things, telling me I would never understand the effort it took to be the center of attention, to command the eyes of everyone in the gym. I swallowed the lump of fear in my throat. Tonight, I wouldn't run from it. Tonight, I would step fully into the persona I had only whispered about in the shadows of my mind. I started with a skirt, slipping into it slowly, feeling the fabric brush against my thighs in a way that was both thrilling and oddly exposing. Next came the top, snug across my shoulders and chest, reshaping me in ways that made my reflection unrecognizable. I examined myself in the mirror. Alex, but not Alex. The reflection was someone new, someone daring, someone entirely inhabiting a world Megan had built and ruled. My nerves sparked as I reached for the pom-poms Megan had left at the end of her bed. Holding them, I imagined the crowd, the cheers, the impossible confidence that seemed to radiate from every cheerleader I had ever known. My pulse quickened. This was more than a dress, more than a uniform. It was a key into a different version of myself, one that was loud, visible, and utterly exposed. The excitement was electric, but so was the fear. What if Emma walked in early? What if Megan came home unexpectedly? What if my secret life, my private obsession, was exposed in an instant? I reminded myself, this was for me, for the thrill, for the exploration of a self that rarely saw the light of day. I had rehearsed this in my head countless times, but now that it was real, it was intoxicating and terrifying. I practiced a few steps in front of the mirror, mimicking routines I had seen Megan perform 1,000 times. The sway of the skirt, the lift of the pom-poms, the bounce in my step. It all felt surreal. For the first time, I wasn't Alex the quiet guy, or Alex the careful boyfriend. I was Alex as someone entirely new. Bold, daring, visible, and unapologetically alive. Then, I heard a faint creak outside the door. My heart jumped. Maybe it was just the apartment settling. Maybe it was a neighbor. Maybe it wasn't. My reflection stared back at me, daring me to go further, to embrace the thrill fully despite the danger. I took a deep breath, feeling the full weight of the decision I had made. This was my experiment, my journey into a world I had always admired from the sidelines. And now there was no turning back. The first step had been taken. The day I became the cheerleader my sister hated had begun, and nothing would ever feel quite the same again. The first few minutes felt like stepping into a dream. I twirled slowly in front of the mirror, the green and gold skirt flaring slightly, the top tight across my shoulders. Each movement brought a mix of thrill and unease. My reflection wasn't just me anymore. It was someone who demanded attention, someone who radiated confidence I had never dared to show. I adjusted the skirt again, tugging at the pleats to make sure they fell just right. The soft fabric brushing against my thighs sent a shiver up my spine, a strange combination of exhilaration and vulnerability. I gripped the pom-poms in my hands and raised them experimentally, imagining the roar of a crowd cheering, a world where every eye was on me. It was intoxicating. I almost laughed at how much I wanted this, even as fear clawed at my chest. Fear wasn't just about being caught. It was about being seen, not as Alex, the careful, quiet guy, but as someone entirely different. Emma would freak out if she saw this side of me. Megan would never forgive me for touching her uniform, let alone trying to inhabit it. And yet, I couldn't stop. Something inside me had shifted. I needed to explore this fully, to feel every inch of this transformation. I moved to the dresser and picked up Megan's makeup bag. My hands trembled as I opened it. Foundations, blushes, eyeliners, so many tiny tools that could alter my face completely. I had practiced on my own before, but this was the first time I was going all in. I dabbed foundation onto my face, blending carefully, trying to erase the familiar masculine contours. My reflection blurred under the layers of powder, and when I looked again, I barely recognized myself. Next came the eyes. Black liner traced my eyelids, mascara lengthening my lashes in a way that felt unnatural, yet exciting. Each stroke heightened my heart rate, the line between thrill and fear growing thinner. I wasn't just dressing up, I was transforming into someone else entirely. Someone confident, someone daring, someone visible. The final touch was lipstick. Megan's favorite shade, a bold, cherry red, rested in my hand. I paused, staring at the tube. One wrong move, and it would smear. One wrong move, and the fantasy could crumble. I pressed it to my lips, slowly, deliberately. The color burned against my pale skin, a stark contrast that made my reflection feel alive in a new, undeniable way. I parted my lips slightly, testing the feel. This wasn't just makeup. This was power. I stepped back from the mirror, examining the full effect. Alex, the quiet guy, was gone. In his place stood someone daring, visible, radiant. My heart pounded. My hands shook slightly, but I didn't care. I wanted to move, to dance, to feel this persona fully, even if only for a few hours before Emma returned or Megan noticed. A sudden noise outside made me freeze. Footsteps? My heart skipped a beat. The apartment was usually quiet, but every creak, every distant sound now felt like a threat. I ducked slightly behind the doorframe, pom-poms still in hand, and listened. Nothing. just the hum of the ceiling fan and the faint sound of traffic. I exhaled slowly, my pulse still racing. I needed to test myself. I needed to see if I could move like this person, walk like this person, even if it was just in my room. I took a few tentative steps, then a small twirl. The skirt swished around my thighs, the pom-poms catching the light. Each movement reinforced the transformation, but also made me acutely aware of my vulnerability. If anyone walked in now, they would see me completely exposed. I sat down on the edge of the bed, brushing the wig I had secretly bought for situations like this. Long, flowing hair that framed my face perfectly, soft and glossy. I hesitated, fingers hovering over the strands. Could I really commit to this? Could I complete the transformation without hesitation? The answer was a quiet, resounding yes. I pressed the wig onto my head, adjusting the part, letting the hair fall naturally over my shoulders. The mirror reflected a version of me I had never seen before, someone bold, daring, undeniably alive. The clock ticked louder than usual, each second stretching. Emma wouldn't be back for at least 2 hours, but that wasn't enough to calm the anxiety gnawing my stomach. What if Megan came home early? What if a neighbor stopped by? What if someone saw me through the window? Every possibility made me shiver, but also made the thrill sharper, more addictive. I decided to test my new persona. Standing in front of the mirror, I raised the pom-poms again, this time moving with intention. I imagined the cheers of a crowd, the way people's eyes would follow me, the energy I could command if only I dared to fully inhabit this version of myself. Each step, each sway of my hips, each lift of the pom-poms reinforced the strange, electrifying feeling that I was someone else entirely. Hours passed, or maybe only minutes. Time had no meaning in this world I had created in my room. I practiced routines I had seen Megan perform countless times, mimicking her movements, her smiles, her posture. The skirt flared with every spin, the wig bounced naturally, the lipstick seemed to glow under the soft light. I felt unstoppable, yet terrified. The thrill of this secret life was addictive, a dangerous rush that I couldn't, and didn't want to, stop. But then came the first real test, movement beyond the bedroom. I wanted to see if I could inhabit this persona fully, to take a step into the outside world without breaking the illusion. I tiptoed toward the living room, every nerve on fire, careful to avoid the creaky floorboards. Each step felt monumental, each glance at my reflection in the hallway mirror a confirmation of the transformation. And then it happened, a sudden knock on the apartment door. My heart froze. I clutched the pom-poms, holding my breath. Emma? Megan? A neighbor? Whoever it was, I had to think fast. I crouched behind the couch, trying to make myself small, invisible, as the knock came again, sharper this time. Panic surged through me. I peeked around the corner. It was a delivery person, a package for me. Relief washed over me, but my pulse didn't slow. The person didn't need to see me like this. I tiptoed quickly, snatched the package, and retreated back to my room, heart racing. The adrenaline was intoxicating, the fear and thrill intertwined in a way I had never experienced before. Alone again, I collapsed on the bed, laughing quietly at myself. I had done it. I had transformed fully, inhabited a persona that was bold, daring, and utterly mine, even if only temporarily. And yet, the sense of danger lingered, a constant reminder that this thrill came with stakes I wasn't entirely prepared for. I practiced more, experimented with different poses, different expressions. I felt the duality of my life pressing in, the quiet, cautious Alex and the daring, visible version in front of the mirror. I loved both, feared both, and knew that balancing them would be the challenge ahead. As the sun dipped lower outside, casting shadows across my room, I realized the transformation wasn't just physical. It was emotional, psychological. I had stepped into a world I had only admired from afar, and now it was mine to explore, mine to experience, mine to own, at least until the outside world intruded again. The apartment felt smaller now, the walls pressing in with every heartbeat. I had practiced my routines, admired my reflection, and for a fleeting moment, I had felt unstoppable. But the thrill was a fragile thing. One knock, one unexpected sound, and it could all shatter. I heard footsteps approaching, soft, deliberate. My heart jumped into my throat.
Megan?
Emma? No. It couldn't be. They weren't supposed to be home for hours. I froze, clutching the pom-poms as if they could shield me from the truth. The footsteps paused just outside my bedroom door. A shadow fell across the crack, and a familiar voice called out, teasing and sharp. Alex? You in there? It was Megan. My chest tightened. My mind raced, calculating escape routes, lies, excuses. But the room offered no hiding place large enough to protect me from her gaze. I was trapped, a perfect mix of vulnerability and exposure. I tried to sound casual. Hey, yeah, I'm just, cleaning up my stuff. My voice wavered, betraying my panic. There was a pause, then a chuckle, a husher.
Just cleaning, huh?
She sounded suspicious, her tone like a challenge. The doorknob rattled slightly. I felt a wave of terror. If she came in now, I didn't even know what I would say. The knock at the door became more insistent. Megan's patience wasn't infinite. My mind scrambled. I glanced around the room, the mirror reflecting my fully transformed self. I was beautiful, bold, utterly exposed, and completely at the mercy of the one person who could destroy this carefully constructed fantasy. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. Maybe you could give me a minute? I tried to sound confident, but the quiver in my voice betrayed me. Megan didn't answer immediately. My pulse thumped in my ears. Seconds felt like minutes. Then, just as I feared, the door creaked open. Megan's eyes widened. Her gaze swept over me, taking in the wig, the skirt, the tight cheerleader top, the pom-poms clutched in trembling hands. I felt naked under her stare, every secret laid bare. Oh, wow, she breathed, a mix of shock and disbelief. Alex, what are you wearing? I couldn't speak. Words tangled in my throat, fear, shame, and a strange spark of defiance warring inside me. I wanted to hide, to shrink, but a part of me wanted her to see, to acknowledge this other side of me that I had been exploring in secret. You look, Megan started, but then paused, uncertain. I could see the wheels turning in her head, judgment, curiosity, maybe even admiration. My heart raced. This was it, the point of no return. Before I could answer, another sound cut through the tension, the front door opening downstairs.
Emma.
My girlfriend. My safe world, and my secret's greatest threat. I froze. Panic surged like electricity through my veins. Megan noticed too, her eyes snapping toward the hallway. Emma's voice called from below. Alex? You home? Megan's eyes narrowed. Oh, she whispered. You didn't tell her, did you? I shook my head frantically, but it was too late. The sound of Emma's footsteps coming up the stairs was deafening. Every second stretched, the suspense almost unbearable. I tried to think, to breathe, to control my shaking hands, but the room felt like it was closing in. Emma appeared in the doorway, her eyes immediately locking onto me. For a heartbeat, there was silence, a tense, heavy silence where the world seemed to hold its breath. Then her expression shifted from surprise to confusion, and finally, to something I couldn't quite place. Alex, what the hell? She said, her voice a mixture of shock and incredulity. I wanted to explain, to apologize, to justify, but my words stumbled over themselves. I wanted to try this. Megan smirked, clearly enjoying the chaos she had orchestrated. He wanted to be the cheerleader, she said, her tone teasing, almost triumphant. Emma's eyes widened. The cheerleader? Alex, you're wearing my sister's uniform? I nodded weakly, feeling heat rush to my face. My heart pounded in my ears as the reality of the situation sank in. I had crossed a line, exposed a secret I wasn't ready to share, and now the consequences were unfolding faster than I could control. Emma took a step closer, her eyes scanning me up and down. I felt naked, vulnerable, and yet there was a strange exhilaration in the exposure. Every detail of my transformation, The wig, the makeup, the skirt felt amplified under her gaze. Then came the twist I hadn't anticipated. Megan, sensing the tension, stepped closer to Emma. "Don't act all shocked. He looks amazing, right?" she teased, nudging Emma lightly. "I mean, he's totally rocking it." Emma blinked, her expression softening slightly, but confusion and disbelief remained. I don't know what to say," she admitted, her voice uncertain. This isn't what I expected when I came home." I swallowed hard, the weight of the moment pressing down on me. I wanted to explain everything. Why I had done this, how it made me feel, the thrill and fear and excitement, but the words felt inadequate. How could I possibly convey the complexity of my emotions in a few sentences? Megan laughed softly, sensing my struggle. "Just let it sink in, Emma. He's not hurting anyone. He's just exploring." Emma's gaze shifted back to me, lingering longer than I expected. I felt exposed, judged, and strangely exhilarated all at once. My pulse raced, and I could feel the adrenaline pumping through my veins. This was the ultimate test of my secret life, the point where my private exploration collided with the reality of others seeing me fully transformed. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. A notification flashed across the screen, reminding me of a message from a classmate asking if I was coming to the cheerleader practice tomorrow. My stomach dropped. If I left this apartment like this, people would see me. If I changed back, Emma might never understand. The choice was mine and mine alone. I glanced at Megan, who gave me a small, encouraging nod. Then I looked at Emma, whose expression was a mix of curiosity, concern, and something else I couldn't quite identify. I realized in that moment that I had to make a decision. This secret life, this thrilling transformation, couldn't be hidden forever. I had to embrace it, at least partially, or retreat, and live with the regret of never fully exploring who I could be. I took a deep breath, standing taller despite the pounding of my heart. "Emma, I know this is shocking," I began, my voice trembling slightly, but gaining strength. "But this is a part of me, and I need you to see it, even if it's hard." Emma blinked, processing my words. Megan stepped back, giving us space. The room was silent, the tension so thick it was almost tangible. And then, unexpectedly, Emma reached out and lightly touched my arm. "Okay," she said softly. "Let's figure this out together." Relief and exhilaration washed over me in equal measure. My secret had been revealed, my transformation exposed, and yet, for the first time, I felt a strange sense of liberation. The risk, the fear, the suspense, it had all led to this moment of undeniable truth. But even as relief settled in, I knew this was far from over. There would be challenges, judgment, and perhaps even ridicule ahead. And yet, for now, I allowed myself to bask in the thrill of being seen, of being accepted, of finally stepping fully into the person I had been secretly yearning to be. The room was quiet now, but the silence was heavy, charged with tension. Megan had retreated to the corner, her arms crossed, smirking like a cat who had played with its prey. Emma stood closer to me, her eyes still wide, searching mine for answers I wasn't entirely sure I had. I could feel my heartbeat in my throat, each beat echoing the gravity of the moment. This was it, the moment my secret life collided with reality. I had stepped fully into the persona I had hidden behind closed doors, and now there was no turning back. Emma's hand still lingered on my arm, but I could see the uncertainty in her gaze. "Alex, this is a lot," she murmured. "I mean, I don't know if I understand it fully," but her voice trailed off, unsure of how to finish the thought. I wanted to say something reassuring, something that would ease the tension, but the words caught in my throat. I just wanted to show you who I really am," I said finally, my voice trembling but sincere. "Even if it's weird, even if it's unexpected." Megan leaned against the wall, clearly enjoying the drama. "Unexpected? You're telling me you've been practicing routines, trying on skirts and wigs, and keeping it all a secret?" Her smirk widened. "I can't believe you managed to pull this off without anyone noticing before." I swallowed hard, feeling a mix of shame and thrill. I didn't think anyone would understand, not even you, Emma, I admitted. Emma took a deep breath and stepped back slightly, giving me space. Her expression softened, though caution remained. Alex, it's not that I don't want to understand. It's just this is a lot to process. I need some time. Megan snickered, clearly enjoying the suspense she had created. Time? You're gonna need a lot more than time, sis. This is bigger than you think. The sound of my phone buzzing pulled my attention away. A new notification. A message from my cheerleading squad group chat. Ready for practice tomorrow? Don't be late. My stomach flipped. If I left this apartment tomorrow wearing the uniform, people would see me, not just Emma or Megan, but a whole group of students who would recognize me instantly. I glanced at Emma, whose eyes were now narrowed in concern. Alex, what's that? She asked. I hesitated. It's practice. They're expecting me tomorrow. I don't know if I can go without everyone seeing me like this. Emma's expression shifted, shock, worry, and something I couldn't quite read. Everyone? Like the school? I nodded, feeling my chest tighten. This was the real test. Not just being seen by Megan and Emma, but facing the world outside with my secret exposed. The thought made my palms sweat. Megan leaned in, her grin mischievous. Looks like your double life is about to get public, Alex. You ready for that? I shook my head, panic and excitement mixing in a strange, dizzying cocktail. I don't know, I admitted. I've never thought about it like that. Emma took a step closer, lowering her voice. Alex, if you go tomorrow like this, people will see you. And I don't know how they'll react. You need to decide. Are you ready for that? The room felt suddenly smaller, the walls closing in as the reality of tomorrow pressed down on me. I looked at the mirror, at the reflection of the cheerleader in full costume, the wig perfectly styled, the skirt tight, the pom-poms clutched nervously in my hands. That version of me looked confident, bold, unafraid, and yet I felt the weight of fear pressing down, threatening to crush that persona before it could step into the light. Megan's smirk softened into something almost like encouragement. Sometimes, Alex, you've got to risk it. Otherwise, you'll never know what it feels like to really be you. Emma's gaze met mine, searching for something. Understanding? Acceptance? Or perhaps a shared fear of the unknown. Tomorrow, she said slowly, it's your choice. But you should know whatever happens, it's gonna change things. Maybe forever. Her words hung in the air like a storm cloud. I felt the adrenaline pumping through my veins, my mind racing. If I went to practice tomorrow, as the cheerleader everyone would see, there was no hiding, no retreat. My secret life, my passion, my thrill, all would be out in the open. I looked at Megan and Emma, both waiting for me to decide. The weight of the moment pressed down harder than ever. I could feel the reflection in the mirror staring back at me. My dual selves, the one I had hidden and the one I had embraced. And then a sudden knock at the front door. My heart stopped. Another visitor? Was it a neighbor, a friend, someone who would see me right now, fully exposed? I froze, unable to move, unable to speak. Megan's eyes gleamed with mischief. Well, looks like your first test just arrived. Emma's hand tightened slightly on my arm, her face pale. Alex, whoever it is, we need to be careful. I swallowed hard, my mind spinning. One step, one sound, one mistake, and everything could unravel. My secret, my double life, my identity, all hanging by the thinnest thread. The doorknob rattled slowly. My pulse pounded in my ears, my chest tight with tension. I clutched the pom-poms tighter, feeling the fabric dig into my palms. And then the door creaked open. A shadow fell across the doorway, tall, imposing, and I recognized the silhouette instantly. My heart raced. Alex. The voice was unfamiliar, deep, carrying an edge of curiosity and danger. I froze, every muscle taut. My mind screamed for an explanation, a distraction, anything, but no words came. The reality of being caught in my transformed self, fully revealed, slammed into me like a wave. Emma gasped, stepping in front of me protectively. Megan's smirk widened. And I could only stand there, trembling, facing the unknown consequences of my secret life finally colliding with the world outside. The room seemed to shrink, every second stretching into eternity. And then, with a slow, deliberate step forward, the figure crossed the threshold,